So a quick viewing here of how we can use for loops. So right away, again, I'm using my void setup. I'm not actually going to use the draw here because, well, not yet, actually, because I want to just have it appear statically. So what I can do here is just start with 4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use int I, and we usually use I because of index. I'm going to start it at 50 pixels. And then I'm going to say I want my, because that's always our first part is our starting condition. So where do I want it to start? And so I want it to start at 50 because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make circles show up across the screen. And they're not going to be touching each other. They're going to be spaced apart nicely. So I'm going to start the first one at 50 because this one here, actually, instead of I, to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to call it X because it is going to be my X coordinate. And I want X to be less than or equal to, X to be less than or equal to 550. Because if I'm moving across by 50 every time, I don't want to go right to 600 because I started 50 pixels away from it, so then it'll stay on the screen and won't have like a half a circle touching the outside. And then, so this is my condition until that it'll keep running until. And the last thing we have to add here is how is it going to update itself? Well, this is going to be X plus, so it's going to be itself plus 50 pixels every time. And so once you're done with your for loop stating those 3 parts, we always use our curly brackets, super important in processing and in Java in general, our brackets, so that it holds all of our code inside of here, because we can write multiple lines if we wanted to. So the first thing we would do now is we say, well, I want an ellipse to show up. My X coordinate is going to be the one that's given, like the one that keeps updating itself. I'm going to make my Y coordinate, well, we'll make it 50 as well, so make it 50 pixels down. And what I'm going to do so then they don't touch each other is I'm just going to make them, the diameters of each one to be 25. So if I run this, it will make as many circles as possible. So it starts at 50, 50. Then the next X value is 150. Then it's 150 and 50. Then it's 250. Then 250 and 50. 350. 350, 50. 450. 450, 50. 550. 550, 50. And because of that, it just keeps making them automatically. If you want to make them a little bit fun, what you can do here is to make them random colors on their own. We can use this command, so it gives a random red, a random green, and a random blue. And each time, it'll actually just make it a different color and stop there. Now this is a loop that runs once because it'll do it in the setup and then it won't do it anymore. So like that's where setup just kind of happens, but it still loops through and does that. The void draw is a loop in itself as a method. But this one, like if we run this right now with it blank, nothing's going to happen, which is fine. But if we wanted it to, redraw these things, we would copy and paste this code down here. And what's going to happen here is it's going to look a bit crazy because it's happening so fast that it's actually drawing each one and filling in random colors. So it goes a bit crazy here because this void draw, what ends up happening is it runs through this code and just keeps going and going and going and going and going until we hit stop, or if we hit the X on the side there. So it goes by really, really quickly. So that's why for something like that, unless you were actually trying to make, one ellipse just change colors over time, you would use it in the draw. But for now, I'm just going to comment that out. So this is one way of using your loops. You could use it to tell the X value, and then you can just increase that by the pixel value. Now I'm going to do one here where it actually uses rows and columns instead. So in this one here, we will start it and I'm going to call it row is equal to 0. And we always start in programming at 0 because when we get to arrays next week, your first element is always the 0 element. So we start at 0. We want our rows to be less than or equal to 5 because I want it to be 5 across, or sorry, yeah, 5 down, and then we'll figure out the columns after. We're going to make it a 5 by 5 grid. And the rows are going to increase by 1. So you can actually do a plus plus like this, or what you can do is instead of this, you could say row equals to row plus 1. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say here, because I want to make it say rows and columns and have like a 5 by 5, and I'm going to make this instead of circles, I'm going to make it rectangles, and they're all going to be spaced out nicely as well. So to make a nested loop here, for int columns, and we're going to start our columns at 0. We're going to make our columns less than or equal to 5 as well. So it's that perfect 5 by 5. Well, 6 by 6, sorry. My mistake. If we start at 0 and go to 5, that's actually 6 things because you start at 0 and then you count all the way to 5. So it's going to be a 6 by 6. If we just did less than 5, which is what usually happens, then it would have been a 5 by 5. So when you're doing this, though, you can't just do our row and column being our x and y and our coordinates like we did up here for the x value being here. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do row, but we're also going to have to multiply it by the first. You're actually going to have to do the math that you wanted to do, like how far you want to move it and how much, like where you wanted to start it at. So with this one here, I'm going to say I want to move them by 100 pixels every time, but I want to start them at 100. We'll move them by 100. We're actually going to start them at, we'll start it at 200 here. No, we'll leave that with 100. And then with our columns, sorry, the x value should be our columns because the columns are the across parts. Same idea. And then instead here, because we want the rows are just going to move down, we're going to just multiply them by 100 here. And then we're going to have them being 50 by 50. So it picks the last random color and draws them across. So see how it draws it over top here, because that first row would have been here, and it starts it at like, because we have our row being our y coordinate being row times 100. 0 times 100 is going to make it 0. And then this one here, column times 100 plus 100. Well, the first one is going to be 0 times 100 plus 100, which is here. Then 1 times 100 is 100 plus 100 is 200. So it goes here for the next column. And what will happen with this loop is it'll go through all the columns first, and then it'll go down to the next row. And then it'll go down to the next row. Now this one here is when you're starting them. This is if you want to tell it exactly how many rows and how many columns. If we want to not overlap it, and instead here we're going to do this random for each row, will have its own random color. So notice how by taking out the row, we actually lost the overlapping, but because I changed the column to 1, we lost that first column. So now this is a 4 by 4, but it's all shifted because I started it there. If instead you wanted the 5 by 4, you could keep this one here. and now it's 5 by 4. So this is just another way of doing it. You can either have it where your x coordinates are, or your x and y are your loop, so you're telling it where to go by pixel, or if you want to make a nice grid, you could make it like this.